He replaced me in 2 weeks after 5 years together. That's how fast I went from being the woman he called his future to someone he barely acknowledged. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Arden Calloway, and I truly believed I was building a forever life with Blaine Mercer. We met when I was 26. He was calm, confident, and full of big plans. I admired how driven he was. I supported him through job changes, long nights, and stressful deadlines. I believed in him even when he doubted himself. When we moved in together in Columbus, it felt like a natural step. We shared rent, groceries, quiet Sundays, and long talks about the future. We even started looking at wedding venues online. I felt secure. I felt chosen. Then one evening, everything changed. Blaine came home earlier than usual. He didn't kiss me hello. He didn't even sit beside me. He stayed across the kitchen island like there was already distance between us. His voice was steady but cold. He said he felt confused and needed space. I remember staring at him, trying to understand how someone could look so calm while breaking my heart. I asked if there was someone else. He said no. He just needed time. He packed a bag that same night. I stood in the doorway watching him fold his clothes like he was preparing for a short trip. I thought he would come back in a few days. I told myself couples go through rough patches. I told myself love doesn't end overnight. 2 weeks later, I found out the truth. A mutual friend mentioned seeing Blaine at a restaurant with another woman. Not casually. Not awkwardly. They looked comfortable. Intimate. I felt sick but still hoped it was a misunderstanding. A few days later, I saw them myself at a grocery store. He was pushing the cart. She was laughing at something he said. He looked happy, relaxed, like nothing had happened. That was the moment it hit me. He didn't need space. He needed a replacement. And he found one quickly. I went home and sat on the edge of my bed in the quiet apartment we once shared. 5 years of memories filled every corner. The couch we picked together. The dishes we argued about. The framed photo from our first vacation. I felt like I had been erased without warning. The pain wasn't just about losing him. It was about realizing that while I was still holding on, he had already let go. I started questioning everything. Was he unhappy for months? Did he plan this? Was I the only one still fighting for us? That night, I cried harder than I ever had before. Not just for the relationship, but for the version of myself who believed she was safe. In the weeks before he ended things, there were signs I chose not to see. Blaine started coming home later than usual. At first, he said work was busy. Big projects. Tight deadlines. I believed him because I always had. I trusted him completely. But slowly, small changes began to add up. He started going to the gym every evening, even though he used to hate working out. He bought new clothes, fitted shirts, and expensive shoes. He changed his cologne. When I complimented him, he just shrugged and said he felt like upgrading his style. I told myself it was normal for people to grow and change. Our conversations became shorter. When I talked about my day, he looked distracted. Sometimes he checked his phone while I was speaking. If I asked who he was texting, he would say it was work. He began locking his phone, something he had never done before. I noticed, but I didn't push. I didn't want to seem insecure. He also started criticizing me in subtle ways. He'd comment on how I dressed, saying I should try something more modern. He'd joke that I was too emotional when I asked why he seemed distant. Once, he told me I had lost my spark. That comment stayed with me. I spent days wondering what that meant. Was I boring? Was I not enough anymore? Instead of confronting him, I tried harder. I cooked his favorite meals. I cleaned more. I planned a surprise weekend getaway to reconnect. During that trip, he seemed polite but distant. He smiled for photos, but his eyes didn't match the expression. I felt like I was standing next to someone who was already somewhere else in his mind. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. and saw him sitting in the living room in the dark. His phone screen lit up his face. He was smiling softly at something he was reading. When he noticed me standing there, he quickly locked the screen and said he couldn't sleep. I didn't ask questions. I walked back to bed with a heavy feeling in my chest. Deep down, I think I knew, but I was afraid of the truth. I kept telling myself relationships go through phases. I told myself he was stressed. I blamed myself for not being more supportive, more fun. Clothes. The secretive messages. It wasn't sudden. It was planned. And I was the only one who didn't know. That realization hurt more than the breakup itself. I wasn't just left. I was slowly replaced while still standing beside him. After I saw them together, something inside me broke in a way I can't fully explain. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet and heavy, like a door closing slowly. A week later, I was invited to a small neighborhood barbecue. I almost didn't go, but I didn't want to hide in my apartment forever. I told myself I needed to act normal. I needed to prove I was fine. When I arrived, I saw them almost immediately. Blaine was standing near the grill, laughing with a group of people. The woman beside him had her hand resting on his arm like she belonged there, like she had always belonged there. I felt my chest tighten, but I kept walking. A few people gave me awkward smiles. Some avoided eye contact completely. It was like everyone knew something I didn't. I heard someone introduce her as Blaine's girlfriend. The word hit me hard. Girlfriend. Not someone he was seeing. Not someone new. Just girlfriend. Like I had never existed. He noticed me eventually. For a second, his face changed. Surprise. Maybe guilt. Then it quickly shifted back to calm. He gave me a small nod, like we were distant acquaintances instead of two people who once shared a bed and future plans. I walked over, trying to hold my head high. The woman smiled politely and said, "I've heard a lot about you." Her tone wasn't cruel, but it felt like a quiet victory. I forced a smile and said I hoped it was good things. Blaine looked uncomfortable, but he didn't correct anything. He didn't defend me. He didn't acknowledge our history. I stayed for maybe 20 minutes. Every laugh between them felt like a reminder. He used the same jokes he used with me. The same soft tone. The same hand on her lower back. Watching it felt surreal, like I was witnessing a replay of my own memories with someone else cast in my place. When I left, I held it together until I reached my car. Then the tears came. Not loud sobs. Just silent tears sliding down my face. It felt like attending my own replacement ceremony. The hardest part was the silence from people I once considered family. His parents stopped responding to my messages. Friends we shared no longer reached out. It was easier for them to follow him than to stand by me. I felt erased from an entire social circle overnight. I went home to the apartment and looked around at everything we had built. Suddenly, it didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like a reminder that I had invested years into someone who could switch roles without hesitation. That night, I understood something painful. He wasn't grieving the relationship. I was. He had already moved on while I was still trying to understand what happened. And that realization started changing me. A few days after the barbecue, I sat down to sort out our shared finances. I told myself I needed to be practical. Crying wouldn't pay bills. I logged into our joint savings account, the one we had been building for a down payment on a house. The number didn't look right. At first, I thought I had misread it. I refreshed the page. I checked again. Nearly half of the money was gone. My heart started pounding as I went through the transaction history. Large transfers had been made over the past month. Quietly, carefully, all moved into an account I didn't recognize. I called Blaine immediately. He answered on the third ring, sounding calm like always. I asked him about the missing money. He didn't hesitate. He said it was his annual bonus and that he had every right to move it. I reminded him that we agreed to put all bonuses into the house fund. He said plans change. Plans change. That was all he offered. It forced me to stop seeing him as the man I loved and start seeing him clearly. That night, as I packed a few boxes to prepare for moving, something inside me shifted. The tears were still there, but underneath them was anger. Not wild anger. Focused anger. For the first time since the breakup, I wasn't just hurt. I was awake. I moved into my sister Maris's small guest room 2 weeks later. The apartment I once shared with Blaine was empty except for echoes and a few pieces of furniture he didn't want. Handing over the keys felt like closing a chapter one didn't choose to end. The first few nights at Maris's place were the hardest. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head. The conversations, the warning signs, the moment he said he needed space. I kept wondering what I could have done differently. Maybe if I had confronted him earlier. Maybe if I had been less trusting. Maybe if I had been more focused on myself. One evening, after another long day of crying and overthinking, Maris sat beside me on the couch. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She said, "You built your life around him. When he left, you felt like you disappeared too." Her words stung because they were true. I had turned down opportunities for him. 2 years earlier, I was accepted into a competitive MBA program in another city. Blaine said long distance would be too hard. He said we should focus on settling down instead. I chose him without hesitation. I told myself there would be other chances. Now, sitting in my sister's living room with my life in boxes, I realized something painful. He replaced me in 2 weeks because he had already detached long before the breakup. But I had attached my entire future to him. That night, I opened my laptop and searched for the MBA program again. Applications were still open for the next session. My hands trembled as I filled out the form. It felt strange applying for something just for me. No discussion. No compromise. No asking for permission. For the first time in months, I felt a small spark of control. I also started therapy. At first, I thought therapy was for people who couldn't handle their emotions. But I was drowning in mine. In those sessions, I began understanding why I tolerated the small dismissals and quiet disrespect. I confused loyalty with self-sacrifice. I thought love meant enduring anything. Slowly, my days became structured. I woke up early. I went to work. I stayed late and volunteered for projects that challenged me. Instead of going home to memories, I went home to Maris's laughter and honest conversations. The pain didn't disappear, but it stopped controlling every moment. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and noticed something different. I still looked tired, but there was strength in my eyes. The kind that grows when you survive something you didn't think you could. Blaine thought I would collapse without him. Maybe part of me did at first. But another part was waking up. And for the first time, I wasn't thinking about getting him back. I was thinking about getting myself back. Once I made the decision to focus on myself, everything started to shift slowly. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't overnight. But it was steady. At work, I stopped doing the bare minimum. I began volunteering for projects no one else wanted. Extra reports. Difficult clients. Tight deadlines. My manager, Corwin Hale, started noticing the change in me. He once told me during a meeting, "You handle pressure better than most people here." Hearing that felt strange. For so long, I had been told I wasn't strong enough, not ambitious enough. Now someone saw capability in me. I stayed late at the office, not to avoid my feelings, but to build something solid for myself. I began learning new systems, taking online certification courses at night, and reconnecting with old professional contacts. The more I invested in myself, the less space Blaine occupied in my thoughts. Therapy also helped me understand patterns. I realized I had ignored red flags because I feared being alone. I accepted less because I didn't want to start over. Now I was just tired. He asked if we could talk. I stepped outside so Maris wouldn't have to see him. He didn't waste time. He said he made a mistake. He said things moved too fast. He said he felt overwhelmed and confused when he left me. Now he realized what we had was real. Hearing those words would have shattered me weeks earlier. Now they just sounded rehearsed. I asked him directly what happened with the other woman. He sighed and said it didn't work out. There were arguments. It became complicated. He claimed he had rushed into something he wasn't ready for. He said he missed our stability. He missed how I supported him. He missed how easy life felt with me. That was when I understood something clearly. He didn't say he missed me. He said he missed what I did for him. He stepped closer and told me we could start over. that we could fix things. He said 5 years shouldn't be thrown away. He spoke as if he expected me to feel grateful that he was willing to return. I looked at him and waited for the pain to hit. I expected anger or sadness. But instead, I felt distance. The kind of distance that comes when you've already mourned someone. I told him I had been accepted into an MBA program. I told him I was interviewing for a leadership role in Chicago. His expression changed.
Surprise.
Maybe even discomfort. He asked why I didn't tell him. I reminded him he left. For a moment, he was silent. Then he said we could figure it out together. That he could transfer offices. That we could rebuild slowly. But something inside me had already decided. I told him calmly that when he walked away, he didn't just end the relationship. He showed me how easily I could be replaced in his life. And I had spent the last 2 months learning how to replace him in mine. He tried one more time. He said he never meant to hurt me. That he was just confused. I told him confusion doesn't excuse betrayal. Planning a new relationship while still sharing a home with me wasn't confusion. It was choice. When he realized I wasn't changing my mind, his tone shifted. He asked if there was someone else. I said no. I wasn't choosing another man. I was choosing myself. That seemed to hurt him more than anything. He left without another word. And as I closed the door, I didn't cry. I felt free. 3 weeks after that conversation, I received the official offer for the regional leadership position in Chicago. I read the email slowly, taking in every word. The salary increase. The relocation package. The new responsibilities. It felt like proof that the work I had put into myself mattered. When I told Maris, she hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. She said she hadn't seen me this strong in years. And she was right. The woman who once begged for clarity and reassurance was gone. In her place stood someone steady. Before moving, I met with a lawyer regarding the money Blaine had transferred from our joint account. I didn't want drama. I wanted fairness. After reviewing everything, the lawyer explained that while it would take effort, I had a right to recover part of what was taken. I decided to move forward, not out of revenge, but out of respect for myself. When Blaine received the formal notice, he called immediately. His voice was sharp this time. He said I was being extreme. I reminded him that he made financial decisions without including me. I was simply correcting that. The call ended quickly. For the first time, I wasn't reacting emotionally. I was acting strategically. Moving to Chicago felt symbolic. New apartment. New office. New routine. I enrolled in my MBA classes in the evenings and balanced work during the day. It was exhausting, but it felt meaningful. Every late night of studying reminded me that I was investing in my own growth. Months passed. My confidence grew naturally, not forced. I made new friends through work and school. I learned to enjoy my own company. The silence that once felt heavy now felt peaceful. Almost a year later, I attended a mutual friend's wedding back in Columbus. I hesitated before going, but I wanted to face my past without fear. During the reception, I saw Blaine across the room. He looked surprised when he noticed me. His eyes lingered like he was trying to understand how different I seemed. He walked over, polite but reserved. We exchanged